Hey,
long no see. How have you
I
been?
know. I'm good, good. Thank you. How
Of
about you?
course.
You got a lot going
I'm
on.
I'm good, but yeah, you're right. I do got a lot going on. We got this new baby coming in a couple months.
Oh, that's amazing. And a
Yeah.
girl.
A
Yay.
girl. Yeah. We're still trying to figure out what her name is going to be. Update me on your family. How's everyone doing on your side?
Okay. Every phase of parenthood has its own challenges, right? Jack graduated. He went to Patagonia for 3 months
You
on
did.
a
Yeah.
NOLS course. So that went really, really well. And now he came home for a little bit, and now he is a counselor at an all boys sports camp in New Hampshire for
Good.
2 months. So he'll come home in the middle of August, and then like literally a week later, we take him to college. So he's going to CU Boulder,
Okay.
so out of state. But it's where he really wanted to go. And so he's very excited and got the
Good.
dorm he wanted. And
Good.
so all is going well with him. With Kat, it's more challenging. She's still at Virginia Tech and ended up deciding to take the spring semester off. Now is back in Blacksburg. We just moved her into a new apartment. She started coaching, so
Okay.
swimming.
Yeah, I
So
think I saw a post about that.
she was lifeguarding at a pool, and there was a master's group that was swimming in the water, and they started talking to her, and they invited her, like this older people. And so she started getting back in the water, which I think was really good for her because,
Yeah.
she had sort of this blind spot about swimming, for so long. Like it was something that she was sad about. And
Yeah.
she had totally forgotten, how much she loved the sport. And so anyway, she's been swimming, and she ended up starting coaching summer league there. She got invited to be one of the coaches at Virginia Tech swim camp.
Sweet.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a positive going for her, but
Yeah.
she, highs and lows and just taking it one day at a time.
Finding your way back close enough to your sport where
Yeah.
you're in it without it being a competitive type of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really good for an athlete,
Yeah.
as they try to it's really tough with sports, especially if you were like such an intense competitor who's done the sport for like so long.
Yeah.
you
Her whole
you
life.
you kind of confuse negative emotions that you felt in a period of your life,
Yeah.
even if it was surrounding that sport. You kind of sometimes you kind of conflate it with the sport, like you end up
Yeah.
hating the sport, but it
Sure.
wasn't really like the sport that you hate. You just
Hmm.
hated how you felt while you were like concentrating on that part of your life. I talked to a friend about this because her story is similar in the sense of she was the basketball girl.
Right.
Basketball all of her life. She was really into it. Not only was she really into it, she was really good. She was
Yeah.
called at one point like the female LeBron James, like
Oh,
number
wow.
one in the
Okay.
country
Yeah.
at basketball. And her father pushed her in it. And long story short, the best school to go to at the time for women's basketball was UConn. So everyone knew she was going to UConn. She got the scholarship for UConn. She goes there. And within the first few days, is like, I can't do this. Leaves campus. This is the number one recruit in
Yeah.
the country. Leaves and it's like, not only am I leaving UConn, I'm leaving basketball.
Right. Yep.
And she didn't play basketball. Even
Yeah.
so, and so she ended up going to, she's originally from Delaware, and this is how I came to know her. She ended up going to the University of Delaware and just transferring there. And with all the athleticism she has, she goes, the basketball coach, of course, was like, hey,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
wanna you wanna play down here? And that would have been such an upgrade for a smaller basketball school. And she's like, no,
Yeah.
I hate basketball. And she ended up playing volleyball.
Yeah.
Didn't really play volleyball like
Yeah.
that. And she was all right too, because she's just so athletic. Oh, by the way, she was
Sure.
like 6'5".
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that
That
helps,
helps.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I rowed in high school. I was a cox initially, and then I started rowing, and I really thought she'd be a great rower.
She has
Because
the
you can get
size, Kat has the
you she
size.
does. She's almost 5'11", but I would love for her to make peace with swimming, because I
Yeah,
think it's such a great just a fitness activity, for life. And I didn't want her to not ever get in the pool again, because that would have
yeah.
been quite sad. So I think she's on her way back to loving the sport. So
Hmm.
that's all I can ask for.
Finding your way back most of the time, it's
Yeah,
really good for the athlete in a setting that's not, I shouldn't
yeah,
say not competitive, but not as competitive as you once knew it
sure.
to be.
It's not pressure
Even
filled.
not
It
pressure
doesn't,
filled.
yeah,
Even me
yeah,
personally, for my fitness journey, I'm just getting to the point where I feel like I can say that I've gotten over it. Every time I used to work out, it would be this message of go all out,
right.
100%.
Yeah,
Everything you got, leave it all out on the field. If
yeah,
you're running hard
yeah,
and
yeah,
competitively. Now, in this phase of my life, to get out and to run, I couldn't run like a long distance run for me would be like a mile, and I
right.
would hate that.
Yeah,
And what I found was I was running too fast.
yeah,
I
for
was running
sure.
too hard.
Yeah.
So it didn't allow me to enjoy it at all, and
Hmm.
it didn't allow me to sustain something that I
Yeah,
could for multiple miles.
yeah, for sure.
Because in my mind, I have to go hard, and I see other people's paces, and I have to pace what they pace,
Well,
and
you know what it is? It's your ego.
yeah,
It's your ego because I had it too. I definitely did. And I've only been running for 5 years. I started running when I was 47. I'm 52 now.
really,
And we could talk, I know that was one of your questions about, how your fitness journey, but the first couple of years that I ran, I was so intent on getting faster because, say, for swimming, as an example, our whole household is our swimmers.
swimmers.
It's all about time and doing a better time. Well, same with running, it's all about time. So you feel like when you're training, if you're not getting faster every day, that you're not doing well. And I feel
Yeah.
like running has taught me a whole lot about that but it took me a couple of years to get there to realize
Hmm.
that, oh, your body is telling you a lot of different things. If you're tired, if you're stressed, if it's too hot outside, or you didn't eat well enough, you got to go slower. And there are days that are for going faster, and those are speed days. But I couldn't get over that. I was like pushing myself every single run because I was like, I know I can go faster than this, but yeah, I know exactly where you are.
That's a maturity that I had to learn and to grow and to develop. And once you take that route and you start maturing, you start listening to your body, and I had to rewire my thinking. Like, okay, instead of going a distance and then looking at the pace that you did,
Hmm.
you are going to run 20 minutes,
Right.
and you're gonna run at a pace that you can keep, that you feel comfortable, and you're that's all we're doing today.
Yeah.
And then once that's complete, you're gonna look back at your pace, and then you're gonna say, all right, that is the pace that I'm gonna use for this next run that I staged, that's gonna be a 2 mile run or 3 mile run. And I remember doing that, and I remember thinking as I started that next run, this is so slow.
Yeah.
But eventually it turned into me completing a 3 mile run. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I can complete it. All right, let me do that same pace for the next one. I'm not going to say, all right, let me beat it. Let me see if I could do that same
Right.
pace,
Yeah.
and see if I could do that again and again. And then it turned into me towards the end of the run, when I was like coming around that stretch. Maybe I could like just push it a little bit harder toward like the end. And then
Right.
it turned into my pace getting faster. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I think I'm enjoying this process.
Yeah.
But it all starts with up here,
It does.
like you said.
Absolutely.
Kind of the backtrack, because we got like far into
I
the
know.
questions already.
And
If we got stuck on an elevator, we're going to the 30th floor. We have about 30, 40 seconds to talk. Tell me a short elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, and an interesting fact about you.
okay. Well, like I said, I'm 52. I am originally from Greensboro, North Carolina, but
Mhm.
I live in Crozet, Virginia now. I've been married to my husband Cameron for 25 years, actually over 25 years. We had our 25th anniversary in April. I have my daughter Kat, who's 21, and my son Jack, who's 18. I've been an event planner for over 20 years. I'm currently a senior meeting manager at American Express Global Business Travel. I've been there a little over 2 years. And an interesting fact that I don't even think that you know about is that I was a competitive water skier in college. Did you even know
What?
that that existed?
I did
Yeah,
not. Well, no, I knew that existed, but I didn't know you did that.
I did. I wasn't a very good water skier, but I mean, I was decent, but I somehow walked on the team and made it my sophomore, junior, and senior year. So I
Wow.
was at a small liberal arts school in Florida called Rollins College, and very good water ski team. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, people are like, there's such a thing as competitive water skiing, and there definitely is.
That's
So
awesome. All
yeah.
right, so in the water skiing, I'm assuming that there's different events and
hmm
competitions, almost like track.
There's three events. There's slalom, trick, and jump.
I was about to
So
say, so
I was originally just a slalom skier because that's what I learned. But I needed to learn how to do tricking and jumping for points. So I never became great at either. I mean, slalom was my main thing,
mhm.
but I did a little tricking and a little jumping. It's a little frightening, but the jumping especially. And also our lakes in Florida had alligators. So
Yeah,
that
so
was
you would pay
pretty scary
for missing
falling.
a trick.
Yeah, for falling. Yeah.
Wow, I did not
Yeah.
know that. So how about this? When's the last time you got on a pair of water skis?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, when I graduated from college, I didn't have a boat anymore.
True.
So I remember like 5 years after I graduated, a friend of mine, I went to his family's lake house and where they had, a bunch of boats and people skiing and stuff. And he kind of talked me up. He was like, yeah, my friend was, competed in water skiing. And I'm like, oh, don't go there because I had skied in like 5 years. So
Yeah.
of course I got up, but also the boats are very different. So like the boats that you use for slalom skiing competitively are very different than like, some of the other boats and the wakes are really big.
Yeah.
So anyway, I try, I'm like slaloming back behind and I totally wipe out and I'm just so embarrassed because I'm like, yeah, thanks for setting me up for that.
For
You
talking
shouldn't
me
have
up.
met, yeah, for talking me up because so yeah, I can't even remember. That might have even been the last time I was on skis
Wow.
was
Wow. So you know what this means
25 years
now.
ago.
Now I gotta set up some kind of situation where I get you back on some
Man, man, yeah. It would be fun. Going to Smith Mountain Lake, I've thought about it, trying to go there on vacation or something and renting a boat and I would love to teach my kids how to ski. I know Jack has learned at camp, but
Yeah.
Kat doesn't ski, so it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do.
There's a wide range of ways that I meet people nowadays. Like it used to
hmm
be like, how'd you meet this person? You met them at like church, school, whatever. It was just a few places, maybe even supermarket. Um, but nowadays it's like, oh, I met this person in the YouTube comment section. I met this
Right.
person on Instagram. But how did we meet? We had a different way of meeting because I actually know you in real life, IRL,
Yeah,
as the young kids
that's
say.
right.
So how
That's
did
right.
we meet and come to meet? Shout out to Kat.
Yes. So yeah, shout out to Kat. Yeah, I think that originally Svetlana and Athena,
Hmm.
you were coaching them or at least Athena, and they made an introduction, and so you started helping Kat when she was competitively swimming. And it was really focused about her. And I mean, I think it was, let's see, it's probably been like 3 or 4 years since you worked with her.
Yeah,
That you kind of fit the bill for what I was looking for. And I really hoped because I knew at some point you were coming down here to Charlottesville and
yeah.
doing some in-person training at the ACAC. So, our first time that we met, we were in person, but then it all went virtual, which was totally fine and worked out for me. But yeah, I guess we met through Kat and through knowing Catherine and helping her with her strength training while she was competitively swimming.
Well, you tell me, but I love the fact that it was yeah, this guy did good enough job training my daughter. So I trust him training me too. Sometimes that's how it happens where I
Sure.
was training, one party at first, and then maybe it was like I was training the husband, and then all of a sudden the wife was like wanted in. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, like I want in, or the son or the daughter, and then the parent.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's just really cool. And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool when you guys can like commiserate with each other. Like, can you believe what Coach Mike made me do? It's like, oh yeah, he made me do that too, or something like that.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
wait, did Kat know that you did a program with me?
She does. Yeah,
She
she
did?
does. Hmm.
Did she think like highly of you? Like, oh shoot, Coach Mike is tough. Like I am wondering what he's putting you through.
Yeah, I think, quite honestly, for a long time I mentioned that I'd mentioned I'm 52, but I didn't start running until I was 47. And so just to kind of go back to one of the reasons I started running, or started working out in the first place was, both my kids were competitive swimmers and, they were going through, as a lot of kids do in competitive sports, their own challenges. And I was finding myself, saying things to them like, you got to be tough. You got to do this, you got to do that. And then I was like, but I don't lead that by example, right? Like,
Mm,
I don't, I'm telling them to do these things, but I don't do them myself. So, and I was also at a time in my life where I was going through my own challenges, both personally and professionally. And um, it was the right time for me to start. But I think one of the biggest motivations was starting to show them that I was doing what I was telling them that they could do. I was
yeah.
trying to walk the walk.
Modeling is so important. I truly believe that. I was just talking to another one of my clients when you were mentioning her kids and her daughter is, I think, just in her like early teens, was, oh yeah, you look strong, mom. And she said,
Oh,
yeah, and I'm arm wrestling with my son. He's stronger than me now. Like I think
yeah,
he's 11 or 12.
yeah.
But he complimented me like, yeah, mom, no, you're getting
Oh,
stronger. Like,
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
She's like, that's the best feeling. I'm like,
yeah,
isn't it? Isn't it when like your kids know that you're nurturing, your kids know that you're loving, your kids know these things, but
yeah,
do your kids know that you're strong? Do your kids know that you're like tough? Like, do they know these things? When they do, I feel like they look at you a little bit differently, and then you get to you get to model something to them that really sticks with them for forever. Because
yeah,
there's never going to be a time where they're in their early 40s or even their late 40s and they think in their minds that I can't do this, this is impossible because they
yeah.
remember their mom was doing it.
I hope so. I hope so. And I think that it's been fun. Like Jack used to run cross country also. So like we didn't run together. He's too fast for me, but like, there was a time where we were going out and going running
Good.
separately, but at the same place.
Yeah.
And they've been to my races and, Kat came out to my last half marathon. So it was good. I mean, it's good. Like they're very supportive. And they see that I'm doing hard things and that they can,
Yeah.
I hope that it makes them feel like they can do that too, especially when they get to be my age.
That's
So
awesome. That is awesome. So that
yeah.
kind of leads me to my next thing. You mentioned what you do, event planning. I knew that's what you do. I still want to talk to you like personally on like a one-on-one about that because my sister recently got into that. Dive a little bit deeper into exactly what you do. And I'm
Okay.
gonna preface this by I saw something that you posted semi recently. It looked like a big cruise ship
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about some of the things and I'm just reading every single line. It's getting even more and more impressive. So tell me a little bit about what you do and tell me
Yeah.
about that event that you ran.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, I've been planning events for over 20 years. I started out in Los Angeles planning events like mostly weddings, and some high profile weddings. Like I guess an extra special fact would be that I was one of the planners on Jennifer Lopez's second wedding. So it was
Second
a
out
long
of
time ago, long time ago. This was in the late 90s. But
yeah.
I kind of got out of weddings and now I'm in corporate planning. I did corporate planning in Charlottesville for 10 years and now I work remotely for, like I said, American Express Global Business Travel. And my client is happens to be American Express Travel. So two separate companies. But yeah, I think event planning is very stressful. I kind of liken it to simultaneously doing your taxes and painting your toenails during a hurricane. I mean, it is like, it is, it always keeps you on your toes. And I think that stress is an understatement. But I really love it. I think that I'm pretty good at my job. And I think that, over the years I've had opportunities to like become sort of a more of a people leader. And I'm like, you know what,
Yeah,
I get to manage people on site, but I really like that would take me away from actually the planning of the events. And
yeah,
that's what I love to do. So that's kind of why I've stuck with it for so long. But yeah, the kind of events that I do now are incentive events. So they're rewards for sales. So, like, say that my client's American Express Travel, but say an incentive event for any company really is, you have salespeople and you want to reward them for their sales, right? So
yeah,
you're gonna take them on an all expenses paid trip to XYZ and, kind of wine and dine them and schmooze them and let them do activities and stuff. So we just recently chartered an entire cruise ship, went to a few islands in Greece and Turkey, and um, probably one of the most challenging events I've ever planned. I mean, if you're referring to like my Instagram post,
yeah.
yeah, it was. I'd never planned an event on a cruise ship, so that in and of itself was new. And that's also why, I like continuing to do what I do because every event's different. And you
Yeah.
can learn something all the time. But I was just trying to keep pace with the amount of work that there was. And I ended up taking off like 5 weeks of running before leading up to that, just because, I get up in the morning and be at my computer by like, say, 9, and I was still there by 2 a.m. I mean, I was working
Wow.
like really, really long
Wow.
days. And that's not always. I mean, I don't want people to think that event planning, your days are that long. They're not, but like leading up to and getting really close to the execution of the event, they're really, really long days. So, and lots of stress and lots of people looking to you. I had a team on site of, I think there were 8 of us total. And it's challenging, but it's fun, and I think it's really rewarding to see obviously all of the people that were there for the award. They were very happy. So in the end, that's all that matters. But yeah.
Do you remember the specific numbers, like the facts that you put on that post?
I can't remember. I wanted to say that we planned the event for over 500 days. And so it was, a little over a year, a little like a year and a half of planning
Crazy.
for a 4-day event. And I think there were like, 295 people, something around that. I had 6 flights, 3 flights there, 3 flights back. I think over the course of 4 days, I think I had like 15 or 16 hours of sleep total. I was getting like 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night because we went to
That's
3 islands. But
That's
yeah,
crazy. So this is my question though, because event planning, the only way I know that business is through my sister, and
right.
she has her own business. When she does a big event like that, by the way, like she was on the team that did the Super Bowl halftime
Oh,
show
wow.
for the
Yeah,
past two Super Bowls.
that's
So
a different type of stress.
after she does an
Yeah,
event like that, she
yeah,
like takes off for some
time.
time.
Yeah.
Are you
Live
able to
events,
do that?
I am. I took a whole week off after, and I
All right, good for
actually
you.
talking about fitness. I didn't even try to start running again that week. I was like, you really have to listen to your body, and I was exhausted. And your
Yeah,
sister, I mean, that those live events are a different type of stress, and I can completely empathize with her
yeah.
situation, and would take time off after as well. But yeah, I did take about a week off, and then I don't think that I really started running. I started walking first because I definitely felt the loss of fitness.
Yeah.
But at some point, in early, like before the event was executed, I kept trying to push myself, like, okay, I can run in the afternoon, or I can, I was trying to like change my schedule so that I could get the exercise in. But at some point, you just have to say, you know what, it's okay.
Hmm.
This is for a small amount of time, and I'm gonna give myself some grace and prioritize my job. And this will be here for me when I get back, and I'm gonna need it when I get back too, because I definitely lost some fitness. So now I'm in the process of building back up again.
You
And
know,
that's
I see.
exactly, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was nodding like, I see your updates when you run. So I see, I know exactly what you're talking about and see
Yeah,
the process. And I saw even the difference in she walked a little bit, she ran, she walked, ran, seeing your
yeah,
pace, seeing the mileage build up. So
yeah,
I think what you're saying is so important. Um, and it's so true, and that's what I try to do with a lot of my clients. Like a lot of what I do, as you can imagine, yeah, is based on like fitness and pace and running, but a lot of what I do is also like managing expectations, teaching people how to give themselves grace, teaching people what balance is. And everyone's balance looks different, but finding
yeah,
that balance and being able to say, this is a season for going hard and this is a season for taking a break, and that deals with that also interlocks with the whole managing expectations part of this thing, because a lot of people want to get to their goal as fast as they can, but they're going through something here on this side or here on that
right.
side, and learning how to say, you know what, we can go fast when it's time to go fast, but when we have to have a pit stop and change the
Yeah.
tires, we can't go fast at that. Like we need to change the tires at some point. So I know I cut you off. I want you to continue on that thought if you remember.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I think that when I reached out to you for the first time, that it was at a point where I had taken that break, and because it happens every year, it's very cyclical. I have one big annual event. I do other smaller events, but I do take the time off, and then I need to build back up. And so, one of the things that, and I'm not sure that you know either, was that, my husband was a competitive swimmer, and I was a coach as well. And so he would
Hmm.
always tell our kids, you can do the hard work and practice, but you need to do the extra things outside of the pool, and that's stretching, strength training, mental training. And if
Yeah.
you don't do all of those things, then, you know, you're not going to likely achieve the goals that you'd like to achieve. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm running the mileage. I'm doing all the things running wise, but I'm not doing anything else besides that. I wasn't doing the stretching or the foam rolling or the yoga or the, all
Strength
or the strength
training.
training.
Yeah.
Exactly. So and I kind of reached a plateau too, where I felt like, okay, I feel like I'm a decent runner for my age, but I can do better. And I believe me, I want to go faster. And so, just starting to think about what are the things that I can do to go faster. And it's like, oh yeah, I got to do all these extra things, which, like, going back to time, it's hard. It's to
Hmm.
manage, sometimes the run is all I have in me for that
Yeah.
day, because even now, like in the summer, it's 80 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I get up and I'm running at 5:30 in the morning so that
Yeah.
and I'm exhausted by the end of the day. So then you have to get into the habits of going to bed early and then getting up early. But
Recovery.
you gotta make a time for the priorities that you set for yourself. And I think that one of the great things about the program too is that the virtual component of it helped me fit it in when I could.
Yeah.
And if I, as much as I would love to do in person or at least, live training, that just doesn't always work with my work schedule. So I think the virtual component, what allowed me to really, um, fit that in when it fit my schedule. But I also always felt connected to you, like you always commented on my workouts. If I ever needed to change anything, you We're always willing to, change. I think at one point I was like, these workouts are taking me a little bit longer than I'd like. I really only have a half an hour. Can you, make it
Yeah,
a little bit shorter? Or I'm going to be in a hotel for a week and I don't really think I have time to go to the gym. Can you do a little workout for me that I can do in my hotel room?
yeah.
And you did that for me too. So I think that, that really helped. So I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. I truly believe that a lot of people out there are really hindered by their schedule and their lifestyle. And they're put at this crossroads of having this goal. It's not like these people don't have goals. They have these goals that they're passionate about, but then they have this priorities list that just cannot change to fit these goals.
Yeah.
So when they're put in a situation, and the things that you named, one of the things being the temperature right now, it being the
Yeah.
summer, I usually run in the early morning too. I remember the one time during this like 60-day challenge that I had to switch it up, and I'm like, all right, I'm dropping my daughter off at soccer practice. I'm gonna take that time while she's in soccer practice to run. It was my worst run. I'm like dying. I'm like, what? Why am I so? Oh, because you're running in the heat later on in the day when you're not
Yeah.
used to running. So
Yeah.
a lot of these things that you just named, I don't even like to use the word excuses. I've grown too much as a trainer. And when I get with people and I do this personal training, I end up getting into their lives and really understanding them and seeing the complexity of like what's going on in their lives. I feel like young people, not to, diss young people, but young people, especially young trainers who have the time, they have the freedom, they don't have as many responsibilities, they're like, oh, those are excuses, or oh, you can, you got to do this, you got to
Yeah.
make time. When you mature, you grow, you have children of your own, you see what these people are going through. I don't call them excuses, I call them reasons.
Hmm.
And those things that you named are reasons why people can't change their priority list to match these goals that they have.
Right.
So coming up with a way, so it's on me now. All right, I'm the trainer, I'm the person who's going to be the bridge that's bridging their priorities list and their goals. It might not be the perfect bridge, but it can be at least a rope
Right.
that they can stand on and a rope that they can hold, right? And you're the person who's like, helping them, guiding them, like, all right, you can do it, and
Yeah.
get them at least closest to their goals. And that was a way that I found that I can do it. And one of the coolest parts about having a program where we have a lot of feedback between us, where like I can see your times, I can see your average speed, I can see this, and then I can also see your workouts too, how long it was taking you, how many calories you were burning, and then hearing your feedback. Oh, coach, I want to change this a little bit, or coach, this would fit best with me. Having a program like that is like the best synchronization between two people who are trying to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
And I literally remember the day where I got the message from you and the picture, and you're like, hey, coach, I just ran. I PR'd. I showed my wife. I was bragging about you. I was like super
Aw.
happy because that's what this whole thing's about.
Yeah.
And I already knew you were going to kill it because your pace was just getting like super fast on your speed runs. I'm like, this is way different than the like 11:40 minute plus where we first started. We kind of just like ran from the one question to the other, one of the other topics I was going to go over with you. But one of the things I really like to analyze with someone who I first start working with is like lifestyle. It's kind of like a vicious cycle for professional women. They wear so many hats. They have the hat of wife. They need to spend time with their partner, their husband. They have the hat of mother. They need to spend time and they want to spend time with their children, right? And usually mothers, the good ones, they have this selfless nature about them where they want to give, give, give. They want to give their time and effort and energy to their husband. They want to give their time, energy, effort to their kids. And then you're
Right.
left, and then you have your job and you want to kill it in your job, and you have this pride about your position and how people see you there, and your performance, and then that leaves you with almost nothing for yourself sometimes. And part of my job when I get a new client, especially if she's in that kind of position where she's wearing those hats, is teaching them how to advocate for themselves in their homes to say, this is mommy time. This is the time where you're not bothering me. You're not asking
Yeah.
me questions. I'm not, worried about like what's going on for dinner. Like, this is mommy time. Sometimes it's a matter of figuring out where that fits in your schedule. Sometimes it's a matter of finding some kind of fitness program that best fits you.
Right.
So talk to me about that. I know we kind of touched on that with my specific program, but talk to me about balancing all of that. And have you found the answer, or are you still figuring out the answer, or
Well, I think what you were talking about earlier is I didn't do a good job of that when I was younger, when I had younger kids. I definitely did not. And that made it hard. That made it very hard. I think that once I started figuring it out as my kids got older and they needed me in less ways, right? Because they're more self-sufficient.
yeah.
It got easier to make time for myself, and to make um, it known that I needed my time as well. But I think that I didn't do a good job of that earlier. And I wish that I had. But now my kids are out of the
They're grown?
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but they weren't out when I started. Um, you know, it's really just about learning how to prioritize yourself. And I found that, you know, I went through a period of depression when I was younger, like a younger mother.
Hmm.
And I couldn't figure out why, because I wanted to be like the perfect mother,
Every
and
mom wants to.
do all the things. And it wasn't until I was failing. I was definitely failing, and I think that that's, where the depression came from. But it wasn't until I finally decided to make the time for myself that I learned that I became a better mother because of it, right?
Mm.
Like the time that I have with my kids is better when I make and cut out time for me. And it was a hard lesson to learn, and many years, probably, it's never too late, but it was something that I wish that I had realized earlier. But I think that you're right. It's hard for people to do that these days because there are so many hats that they wear, and it's really about learning how to not prioritizing your family less, but yourself more, or at least making them equal, right? It's kind of like you got to put, like they say on the airplane, you got to in an emergency, you got to put your mask on before your kids, right? And so that's kind of how I feel about it now. Like I have to take care of myself in order to better take care of you. And I have mental health needs just like you do. And for a period of time in my life, I was not prioritizing me at all. And so I think that sort of led, talking about the fitness journey, that sort of led to me starting to run. Like I said earlier, going through this phase of my life where I was having some professional stresses and issues, and I ended up joining some colleagues that were training for a Spartan race.
Mm.
And so I signed up, and it was a lot of fun. And when it was over, I was like, oh, I kind of want to keep doing something, but I kind of need a roadmap, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't really know what to do. Like I was working out with the group, we were doing lunch workouts, which was really fun. And that's what led me to, sign up for a 10-miler training program here. And just baby steps. It just over time, kind of grew and grew. And as I set small goals and achieved them, I learned how to get better at, making the time to do the things that were meaningful to me,
Yeah.
fitness wise. So yeah, it
I just
definitely took
got
time though.
goosebumps.
Uh,
No, what you said is so
yeah.
important, and that message needs to go out there. There's this whole wave that we're seeing with younger women now where they hear the stresses that come with motherhood or with, growing up and getting married. They hear those stresses and they hear kind of like the negative side of it, and it kind of scares them to the point where it's like, a lot of people are not getting married now, and a lot of people are like, do I want kids? Because it's a selfless thing. But that's like dichotomous thinking, because there are a lot of good things that come out of those
Sure. Of
things too.
course.
So learning how to find that balance
Balance.
is
Exactly the
key.
right word. Hmm.
And the balance is going to look a little bit different for everybody, but one of the most important things I got out of your message just now was that message you get on the airplane in case of an emergency, right? You want to save the people in your life. Like, you want to give your partner all the time and attention and affection. You want to give, those same things to your child or your children, but you have to make sure you're good too.
That's right.
And the one thing you said that is like the key message to the young mothers that I train, your priority right now, you say, are your children and your partner. You will be even a better
Better.
wife and a better mother if you do take some of that time
Yeah.
out and dedicate it to yourself.
Yeah.
And one thing you also said that was amazing, and I don't think I ever heard it said this way, is it's not like you're prioritizing your family less,
Right.
because like the outcome is net better mom, net better
Yeah, for
wife,
sure.
partner. So it's not like you're prioritizing them less, you're just prioritizing yourself more,
More.
and one doesn't take away from the other. That's
Yeah.
like literally gold right there. That's a message that needs to go out. When I look at fitness, or when I look at health and I talk about health in general, I don't talk about health in terms of like dumbbells and running. I talk about health as in feeling good, feeling like you are strong, both like physically, mentally, feeling like the close relationships you have around you are strong. And that comes with you finding out the priorities in your life and finding out how I can best serve all of them. And that starts with like making sure that you're good too, because you are your first advocate, especially if you're a mom. They love you. They understand if you say, I need this time for me. If you are a mother who is doing what, typically mothers do, they know that you give them whatever they want, or you give them what they need, and like you're always around, you're always present. The moment that you go, hey, no, I'm taking this time, I need this time for me, they're going to pause a little bit. They might seem puzzled a little bit if it's something new, and
Hmm.
then they'll get it. They'll get
Yeah,
it
I agree. And I think that showing them that you are taking that time will show them that they, can should prioritize themselves as well.
as well.
So we talk about the modeling before. I mean, I again feel like, it's not only me taking the opportunity to try to show them that I can do what I tell them that they should be doing,
Yeah.
but that I am prioritizing my health in the same way that they should when they get to be my age too, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. And even beforehand, I'm gonna stage this kind of as two different things. Going back a little bit, when you first contacted me, I know you had signed up for a run, but talk to me about like the goals you had when you first contacted me for your specific program.
I think at the time I had actually signed up for a different race, and ended up having to pivot. I don't know if you knew that
I didn't know that.
yeah, because of work. So I had planned on running the Richmond half, which
Mm.
is in November, like
Hmm.
mid-November, and wanted to do all of the things, like I said, outside of the runs, strength train and get stronger. I ended up having to go to a trade show overseas in early November, and I didn't want to have that interrupt um, my training, so I
Yeah.
switched races, and your help made more of an impact as well, because the only race that was available before I left that was close enough to me was a trail race, and I'd never done a trail race before. I
Those are
don't run tra
serious.
I
They're a
don't
lot
run
different
I
than
don't run
flat
trails.
ground.
Well, this particular race was It wasn't that hilly. I think, it was more on the flatter side, but still it was a challenge. And I definitely felt that I needed to kind of up my readiness by increasing the strength and it definitely helped. So I would say that I was working up from basically zero, from because I feel like every time I take that break for work and then come back, I feel like I've just lost it all. So it's really about building up those habits again. And I think that, we haven't really talked about habits, but I talk about goals. For me specifically, I feel like I can't. Well, first of all, I have to have the race sort of identified and the timing identified. And then, how much time do I have until this race? And then what are the steps over these weeks? And I do it by week, not by, not any longer length of time. It's literally
Yeah,
like what is my mileage this week? And what are what days am I going to run? Now that, you have to have, like you said, balance. So I don't try to stick to like, oh, I'm going to run Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, or nothing, right? Like
yeah,
the weather, it could be rainy, or I could have gotten not enough sleep, or I could be sick, or whatever. So I do try to like, kind of work around things like that. But it was really about habit building, and I think for me, not having done the strength training before, and I also realized that like I wanted to work out on the days that I was running, not on my off days,
yeah,
because I felt like if it was a rest day that I couldn't be lifting. So I had to also schedule my time in a way that, okay, I'm going to fit in this 8 mile run and a 45-minute workout. Like, what time do I have to start? Therefore, what time do I have to go to bed? Like it all had to, you had to think about those plans. But I feel like after a while, you build these habits. And I feel like, you even on the days that you don't feel like getting up, even if you got enough sleep, I just don't feel like it, right? Like I just don't want to do it. I just go through the motions. Get yourself up, get yourself dressed, and then you don't have an excuse. Okay, I'm up, I'm dressed. I got to go do it, right?
yeah,
It's just rote at that point. Like it's sort of mechanical. Like, okay, I got to put my shorts on. I got to get my shoes on. Like, it literally got down to that for me. There were days where, because the gym that I was working out at is kind of in the middle of a run.
mhm,
So sometimes I would run there and I would stop and I'd do my workout and then I'd run home. And then when I'm running
yeah.
home, I'm like, oh man, that was really hard.
My
I
legs.
maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have, done it on a different day. But anyway, it gets over time. The habit forming of the program is really helpful because I feel like, doing it again and again um is good. But when I say again and again, not to imply that your workouts don't change, I think that that was one of the things that was good, that you changed them every 2 weeks. So
Hmm.
I felt more comfortable over a period of time, like, okay, this is a new kind of
Program.
a program, but it's it has similar components, so I can figure it out. And I
Yeah.
love the videos too. Like sometimes I watch the videos over and over again and that's what would sometimes take up too much time, because I would want to do them so perfectly. I want to make sure my form is right. But I think that the videos helped, and that was definitely a positive part of the program too, was that there was always something that I could see that would make me feel like, okay, I'm doing this right. And then also the tracking component of it as well was just, I think apps are really helpful these days, like
Yeah.
I track my runs, so you can see your progress over time. And same with this program. It was, you see your progress over time. And I think that that helps support your desire to continue. You see yourself getting better and better and stronger and stronger.
Isn't
So,
that awesome? All right. So take me through your race day. I want to say cheese something.
Chessie.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Chessie.
Okay.
It's the Chessie. You were
Well,
close.
yeah. Take me
Yeah,
through
it's
the
in
race, the
Lexington.
run day, what you felt going into it, how you felt during it, how you felt after.
Yeah, so I felt pretty good. I mean, so my prior half, this was my second half. My very first half was in Richmond. Richmond's also a very flat course. But it was my first half, and I definitely had that mental, like, I don't know if I can do this. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I only wanted to race me and meet my own goals, but I definitely am a little competitive. So going into this, I felt like I had prepared. It was not a great start because, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I was in the porta potty when it started. So like we're lining up, for the race, and there's a row of porta potties right there, and I'm like, and my, I always get nervous, and so my, like, as a runner, you're terrified that you're going to be in the middle of a race, and
And
it's
me
a
to
long
go.
race, and you need to go to the bathroom. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna go. Well, Chessie is in Lexington, which is it's a battleground
Yeah.
state, and so they had a cannon, like a boom, like the was the start. And
For the start
so
of the race.
so I'm literally in the porta potty and this cannon goes off and I'm like, oh my God. So I mean, thankfully it's chip timed, so it doesn't
Yeah.
you don't actually, the clock doesn't start for you until you cross the starting line.
The
But
start
still
line.
it was definitely not the start that I anticipated. Um, but and it's also a trail. So I didn't even practice on trails, which I was also a little nervous about, but I have run on gravel, roads and things like that. So it really wasn't that bad. But the temperature was fine. My husband was there, Kat was there, and I think it just went well. I mean, I think I beat my previous PR by a little, like, 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
nothing like drastic, but still, like, the fact that it was on a trail, which to me is different than the road, the
Way
asphalt.
different.
I felt that that was definitely a win.
And can I pause
Um,
you for, because some people who are not runners won't understand the difference. It's such a huge difference. For it's like the difference between like mountain biking on the trail or through
yeah,
trails and then biking on flat road
yeah,
pavement. Your time will be significantly or at least a little slower running on trails than running
yeah.
on flat ground.
Yeah. And I think that if I had run Richmond again, which is where I wanted to run again, and I do like to run not always the same races over and over, but on the same course, you can really gauge
Yeah.
your improvement that way.
Improvement. Yeah.
So I think that if I had run Richmond again, I definitely would have I would have been faster than 2 minutes.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
I was pleased. I was overall happy with the performance.
I also want to say too, some some things that kind of would be reasons and not excuses. Um, I remember you going on like two different overseas trips during the time that at
Yeah.
least two trips that, during
Hmm.
the time that we were training.
Yep.
Um, and I remember you getting
Got sick.
sick
I did.
for at least a week.
Oh, longer. It was longer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was really sick. Yeah.
So it was one of those things where we had to like kind of pause a little bit, adjust your
Hmm.
program a little bit, kind of build
Hmm.
up a little bit from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it was definitely peaks and valleys. Just when I was feeling really strong, I'd have a trip or I'd get sick or
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
all that being said, to still come out at the end just shows you, well, it kind of shows two things. One, it shows your persistence and your resilience. Love that
yeah.
word, right?
Thank you.
But two, it also proves to the point that if you do make up your mind and you do stay consistent, when you can stay consistent, even though there might be seasons where you're overseas or where you're
Right.
sick, your outcome is going to be progress in the end.
Yeah. I think with any sport, obviously, there's the physical aspect of the training that you do, but also up here. And I feel like, we were talking about mental, fitness and I feel like in my head, I knew that I had done the work, the physical training, even
Hmm.
if I had some setbacks. I had done the work, I had put in the time, I had done the mileage, I had, done your program, and um, that helped me mentally when I was on the starting line. well, in the porta potty, but yes. Um, but you know what I mean? Like it helps
Yeah,
in the race because you also, when you are performing, whether it's basketball, like we were talking about earlier, or any kind of sport, you have the self-talk in your head. And to me, anytime I got to the point where I was like, oh, this is really hard, this hurts, you kind of, the more you prepare beforehand, the more you can talk yourself through it. Like, you
my
can do
gosh.
this, you can do this. And this is really hard and it hurts right now, but you trained all those hours and all those early mornings and you can do it. So I think that helps. It's a combination of both, but I think that doing the work will help you in your head too as you're doing it.
You're speaking my language. I'm gonna tag you in this specifically because I haven't put it out, but most likely I'm putting it out tomorrow or Monday, talking about my mental fitness program for athletes. I just made a video because of one of the long jumpers in her Olympic trial. They had the camera on her and you could see her talking. So I
Yeah,
took that clip and I'm using it for a video just talking about our self-talk portion of our
yeah,
program. And I break it down into like three levels because I tell people some athletes I've worked with is like, coach, I feel so stupid doing this, or like I'm not good at this. I'm like, it's a skill, just like the other skills that you've learned, you need to practice it. So the self-talk, I break it down into three sections. The first is just words of affirmation.
right.
You're a beast. You're excellent. Like you're good. Those are the easier ones to do because it's not really specific. It's just kind of there. The second level is exactly what you just said, talking about the preparation that you've gone through, telling
Having
yourself,
belief in yourself that you did
telling
it.
yourself,
Yeah.
I've been here before, telling yourself, I'm prepared for this. Talking about all those 6 a.m. practices, all those this, like that's you reminding yourself of your preparation, and preparation will give you more confidence. And the third level is just like more specific to you. Maybe it's like something a coach has told you before, or maybe it's something like a part of your game or something that you're not that strong at. So using that mantra of like maybe it's like drive your knees, or like
Hmm.
do this when you hit that turn, lean, lean,
Right.
lean. Like those are more specific to you.
Hmm.
And those will take a little more like self-awareness and things of that nature. But self-talk is so important.
It is.
And that second level is exactly what you said of remembering your preparation. In our course, one of the chapters talks about journaling, and journaling specifically with some of my older athletes. I have them make a private Instagram, a Finsta, the young kids call it, a fake Insta. Well, it's not fake, it's literally them, but it's private. You don't have to try to follow anyone on it or anything. Every time you practice, every time, like all your like highlights and stuff like that, I
Sure.
want you to post it onto this thing. So the day of the game, the day of the competition, you can scroll through that thing and see step by step all your practice. Like it doesn't have to be the whole practice, but you like,
Yeah.
practicing wall ball, you going over some of your shots, all the highlights. You won this game. It's a picture of you like flexing, like to remind yourself all that you've done. So
Hmm.
you're gonna be sitting there like, this is just another game like these games. And this is just another time that I'm picking up this stick or jumping into the water. I've done this all these times before,
Yeah.
and it's a powerful thing to use. um that's so awesome. You're speaking my language. I'm literally going to send you the video
Okay.
because I just made that video maybe 3 days ago, 4 days
Okay.
ago. That's awesome. All right, so final thoughts. One of the things I truly believe in, like I told you from the start, interviewing people who I've worked with who've done amazing things. Like someone out there wants to get to the point where they can run a half marathon.
Mm.
So to them, what you just did, it might not look amazing to you, but what you just did is super amazing to someone else. Someone else is wondering, how can I balance family, work, and training to the point where I can accomplish running a half marathon? So that's one of the reasons why I love interviewing people like you, Melissa, because you can give them advice. You could give them like a blueprint. You could give them hey, this is how I did it. So, what advice would you have for someone out there who is wearing all those hats, the hats that you wear, mom,
Yeah.
businesswoman, wife, like what advice would you give them in terms of training or just fitness in general?
Yeah, I think a really important factor is the motivation though, right? Like if you kind of want something, not you're not going to make it happen, right? But if you're at a point where you are like, yes, I want to make this change, and you're really motivated to do it, then it's just about setting the right goals. And I don't mean right like as if there would be a wrong, but I feel like it's, if you take off more than you can chew early, you're going to have a setback. And so I feel like for me, it was about going slow. It took me years to do my first half marathon. And maybe it wouldn't take somebody else that much time, but for me, it was definitely a labor of baby steps, right? Like I did a 5K. I started doing a speed group on Wednesday, and that was really hard because there's a lot of really fast runners in Charlottesville, and I'm like the slowest person at this group. So it was about, like getting to a place where I was feeling more and more confident over a period of time. I think that having the understanding that it is going to take time and that it's not an over there are people out there that probably have more that are in better shape maybe than I was when I started and can do things in a faster period of time. But I would just say, having making sure that you're in the right space and time and mental um, mindset of wanting to start something like that, because if you're not, then it's just not going to work. Um, but then if you are, then setting small goals for yourself and then taking the time to build those habits. I think I talked about habits before, and for me, it's just, I think part of the reason that I'm able to continue doing the running, even though, and the workouts, even though I have such a busy schedule, it's because of habit building. And it's also about setting um, achievable expectations for yourself. Like I
Mm,
feel like there are definitely periods of time where your life's going to be busier and or something's going to happen. There's going to be a death in the family or, and you have to let yourself off the hook. Like you just can't work through those times. Like there are times that you do have to take off for whatever reason. And I think that if you can take those baby steps and make those goals achievable, then over time they get bigger and bigger, and then you'll see more and more success, and it'll keep driving you
mm,
forward. It's also like a life journey, right? Fitness, it's not
mm.
something that, oh, I'm gonna achieve this and then I'll be where I want to be. Like it's an ever ending, like, your life has peaks and valleys and so will your fitness journey. And so you kind of just have to build up that fitness muscle so that you're continuing to, as your life ebbs and flows, so will your fitness and you'll stick with it over time.
If time seems like your enemy, then your goals are probably not set in the right place.
Mm,
Because when I look at training and I'm trying to get someone stronger, I'm trying to like really work their muscles, and you know this because you've done my programs. One of the things that I put with each exercise is the tempo at which I want you to do the
sure.
exercise.
Yeah.
Some people are so concerned about just getting the reps done. But why are you doing the reps in the first place? To get stronger. Well, you're going to get
Right.
stronger with more time under tension. So you should want to slow the process down so you have the time that's going to get you stronger, which is why you're doing it in the first place.
Right.
And like you
I agree.
said, there's you don't want to just you can't just rush to get there. Like this is going to be a thing that should take time.
Yeah.
And you said even your journey to your half marathon took time. And that's one of the things that you were willing to work alongside with. Like time was one of your
Yeah.
partners in your training journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I started thinking about it the other day. I'm like, I need to refine this so like I could put in
Yeah.
words that like make sense like to most people, but time should be on your side. If time
Yeah.
seems like your adversary, that means your goals are probably in the wrong spot. That's like someone who, oh, in these 30 days, I have a wedding I'm going to. I want to
Right.
look good, so I'm gonna
Exactly.
lose. So time is like your adversary. You're like fighting
Right.
against time.
Right.
And when that is the case, you're more likely to get frustrated in the process. You're
Yep.
more likely to, even if you achieve those goals in the process, you're more likely to not know how to sustain them because you
Right.
don't have the habits like you talked about.
Mhm.
And then number three, and this is what I see a lot of nowadays, you mentioned it earlier. Number three, you might start going towards some ways of achieving those goals that are unhealthy for you long term. And I see that a lot. I see that
Yeah.
often. One of the populations I see that the most with are my young female clients, especially like my college athletes
Mhm.
who they want to live this double life. They want to be the athlete. And when you're an athlete, one of the most common things you're graded on is performance. So
Right.
they want to be this athlete, but then they also want to be this like social media presence who looks this certain way, right? And they're graded on likes and attention.
Sure.
And they're looking at the people who are getting the most likes and attention. They do these things and they look these ways. But I'm like, you can't chase both of those at the same time.
Right.
And that's
What's your
one of the
priority? What's your priority?
priorities,
Yeah.
right? And the things that are gonna feed this over here, this performance, they take time
Right.
and
Yeah.
they take you doing the right things and the right habits. And
Yeah.
it's such a good message. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for taking your time
Yeah.
out to talk to me.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you. And I will say too that I'm probably going to need your help because talking about progress over time, I'm starting to think about a marathon. So, um,
Oh!
yeah, I mean it's a lot more miles than a half. It's double.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of you kind of work your way up, right? Like you say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I can do if I did 10 miles, I can do a half marathon." And then when you're training for a half marathon, they get you up to 17, 18 miles, and then you're like,
Yeah.
"Well, if I can do 17 or 18, I can do 26."
26.
Right? Um, maybe.
We'll
I'm getting
talk.
there.
We'll
I'm getting
talk. I
there.
like that. I
I'm
like
getting
that
there.
idea. All
I'll
right.
need a
Bye,
little more
Melissa.
time. All right,
Yeah, yeah,
thanks.
yeah. And
Yeah,
time is on our side.
that's right. It is.
All
It is.
right.
Thanks,
It
Mike.
was awesome talking to you. All right.
Nice to talk to you. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.